Hey, it's Tess, content creator, model, presenter, and host of the Tess Talks podcast, on a mission to ignite curiosity. I'm honestly so excited to have you on the podcast. I was prepping our questions and I found myself getting that nervous, excited energy that I get when I'm deep in my own personal work. And I think that's because I'm so passionate about the topics that obviously you are, because it's your career. And so I was I just know this is going to be so good. And I know the audience and listeners are going to get so much from it. So
thank you so much for having me, Tess. I cannot believe, for everyone watching and listening right now, I was walking through Erewhon yesterday or 2 days ago.
Yeah.
2 days. And I was just getting lunch and I bump into you.
I know. In LA, what are the chances?
What are the
all
chances?
The people here? I know.
I saw you in my vicinity, and I was like, "Who's this gorgeous tall model with a baby?" I'm like, "Cool, okay." And then you're like, "Mimi." I'm like, "Hi, Tess."
That's when I'm stars are aligning. Things are aligning. We're supposed to meet. We're supposed to see each other. I know, it was such a nice treat, and also such a treat that we get to do this in person.
I know,
because I know we originally had this as an online recording, and I'm so glad I was able to squish this into your schedule.
It's like the stars aligned. We had a big storm in the Bahamas and I was like, my Wi-Fi is not reliable right now. We have to reschedule.
I know. I woke up nice and early to the cancellations, no. And then it worked out.
And then now we're here. It's perfect.
So this podcast is all about igniting curiosity. So I'm really curious about your original transformation journey. But I think before we get into that, for any listeners that maybe aren't aware of you, could you give us a little background into Mimi Bouchard and a bit of your story?
Absolutely. So I'm Mimi and I'm the creator of the Activations app. It's an alternative to meditation. Some of you guys might have heard of it. And I'm also the author of Activate Your Future Self, coming out this month, basically. Yay. And it's very exciting. So I'm basically a personal transformation expert, I think people would say. I've been studying this for the past decade of my life, and I have helped a lot of people transform. And I'm really, interested in just becoming my best self and helping people become their best self / future self. That's what I call it, the future self.
The future self. So we all want.
Yes.
We're already living it.
Exactly.
No, it's honestly so amazing. But how did you find yourself first starting on this journey? Were you raised with the outlook of having this kind of mentality? Was it something that came throughout your growth, your adolescence? When did this kind of start for you?
Yeah, so my parents now are very into this kind of thing, but I think back then when I was first getting into it about a decade ago, in 2016, I would say, it was really just personal development books that I started reading and getting really interested in. I went through quite a hard time in my teenage years. I was quite depressed and had, eating disorders and self-harm stuff. And I just was really not in a good place mentally, actually. And, I found personal development and it saved me, to be honest with you. And I just started devouring all these personal development books and watching seminars on YouTube. And this is before personal development was cool. This is it wasn't something you wanted to really scream from the rooftops, but I just became addicted to doing it because it felt good and it felt unlimited, and it made me realize that I could actually create the life of my dreams, and gave me the tools I needed to do that. And, over the years, I've done so much with my personal transformation and, Activations. My app kind of started from this whole thing. I was listening, or I was recording these voice memos to myself on my phone because meditation wasn't really resonating with me. I wanted something more visualization focused that would really help me transform into this future self version of me. And so I just started recording these myself. And then, fast forward 3-4 years ago, I launched the company. And, since then it's really changed my life as well. So it's kind of been this compound effect, the snowball effect from when I first started getting into personal growth. But to kind of answer your question in long, it wasn't really my parents, though now they're into that. It was more just my own seeking of it.
I feel like there is so much to unpack there, and especially like starting with a transformation journey, because it's really not easy to go through a transformation journey. And I think like we find these tools or these teachers or things that support us and we can do the work, but to like fully embody it and actually change our life, like it takes so much commitment and dedication and time as well. So what was that like journey and process like for you?
Well, I just started realizing that when I was doing these things, I was feeling better. So the more I leaned into them, the better I felt, and the better, you know, my life became. And I just started transforming. And, you know, I had to let go of the old self. I had to release, you know, the version of me that I actually wasn't deep down. The me when I was all depressed and in this very different phase of life, it wasn't me. It was me holding on to layers of what I wasn't. So I always like to say that the journey of transformation is actually more about unbecoming than it is about becoming something you've never been.
I love that.
I'm more me than ever before. And I'm my future self right now. So it's not that I had to become something that I've never been. It was that I was always this me, but I just had to kind of remove all the layers of what I was not.
It's so interesting. I completely agree. And it's like, I feel like the closer you get to that part of yourself or that side of connection, it's like your more authenticity comes out and like your perspective of the world changes. I remember I was similar. I was probably about 18 or 19 when I first started going through my own kind of like personal discovery of spirituality and myself. And I remember when it first started fully like resonating with me and I started finding the world like appearing differently. And I remember when I first had this one moment, like this aha moment and like this connection to myself and my first like real spiritual connection. I remember like walking through the streets after and people were like smiling at me and I didn't know why. I was just like casually walking through and it was just like this energy that started radiating from me when I started finding this true connection.
Yes, absolutely. And energy is not some woo-woo spiritual thing. Like science has measured that we all have biofields around our bodies.
Exactly.
And energy is everything. You know, 99.999% of everything around us is actually energy and 0.001% matter.
Yeah.
You know, we can't just pretend it doesn't exist because we can't see it. The world is so much more complex than we even realize. And energy matters and like attracts like. This is proven, you know?
Yeah.
So we are magnetic beings, whether we want to be magnetizing bad situations and things that we don't want, or we want to be magnetizing, you know, an amazing, beautiful life. Like we are magnets.
Yeah. I love the science behind it and I definitely want to delve into that. But you then at that point started blogging, I believe. And so is this what you kind of like started sharing? Is this what you started sharing from the world at like such a young age?
Yeah. So in 2016, I started, or was it 2015? Yeah, I think it was 2016. I started an online magazine blog type of thing.
Remember the days of blogs and stuff?
Literally. And I just remember I was so motivated and inspired. It was my first entrepreneurial venture. Like I remember coding my website with YouTube on half my screen, telling me how to do it because like Squarespace wasn't easy at the time. You know? It was like WordPress coding.
Yeah.
And I just was coding it. Like I was so motivated. It was like the sweetest thing looking back. I feel very nostalgic when I think about it.
I actually feel like that's the best kind of time to create businesses because you're so like naive to things and like the amount of work that things take that you just like
you have the energy.
Head first.
Yeah, you have the energy. I would not have the energy to do that right now.
Totally.
But yeah, and I was talking about, you know, fashion, health, wellness, and personal development, you know, at the time, and it's always been a very big passion of mine. I love it. I love how it makes me feel. It's everything to me.
So, what were some of the first biggest transformations that you started finding in your life when you were going through all of this?
Well, I really did a 180 in every aspect of my life. So from my relationships, like I'd never even had a boyfriend before. I never had been in love. And then, you know, I started doing this work on myself and allowing myself to be receptive and open to it and started visualizing what I wanted my future partner to be like. And crazy story, I actually recorded one of my activations on October 12th, 2017. And it was describing Ben, my fiance. And I met Ben on October 13th, 2017. So the following day, I met him, which is crazy.
Wow.
So I really was, you know, so relationship is huge because that it's such a big part of my life. You know, he makes me so happy. And my relationship with myself and my body has been a really big one. I used to really struggle with disordered eating and just like hating myself and just obsessively thinking about food all day. And, you know, like just really my mind was consumed in like completely the wrong things. And now I'm like, you know, have the most incredible relationship with myself, with food, and just very normal and intuitive eating. And I just feel so blessed about that. And then while also being able to hone in on that relationship with food and myself, I've also at the same time, weirdly enough, have been able to get into the body of my dreams. So that was a limiting belief at the beginning of my journey. I was like, oh, if I stop focusing on, you know, dieting in my body, then I'm gonna like get really fat or something. And I just like, I was scared about that, but I decided, no, my future self, she has an incredible relationship with food. She intuitively eats. She doesn't think about food unless she's hungry. She doesn't restrict. She doesn't diet. She just lives a great life where she just, you know, lives in that way. And then she also at the same time lives in like a body that she loves and feels really good in. So I've been able to do that, which is like something that's been really life-changing. And then one of the biggest ones, to just be totally honest, is financially. Like I had like under $10 in my bank account at one point when I was younger, and didn't really come from money. My parents were artists and are artists. And, you know, that was always something that I struggled with growing up, is feeling secure financially. And that was a big reason I got into personal development too. I wanted to make money. I wanted to be financially free, and I wanted to become the version of myself that had that life. So that's been one of the most dramatic transformations as well. You know, I went from under $10 in my bank account to now owning a company worth tens of millions of dollars and regularly doing, you know, $500,000 months, which is kind of wild to say. And I say this because back in the day when I had, you know, started getting into personal growth, like there was no one that looked like me that shared financial success. Like as a woman, you know, I was just reading these books with old white guys on the cover with their thumbs up being like, you can be successful. Like I actually want to share those things because I find it so empowering. And if I can do it, anyone can.
Yeah, it makes it more attainable to
yes,
people
it is.
listening.
Yes.
It's amazing what you've done. And I think also because your stories are so common, like so many people find themselves thinking or feeling at least one of the scenarios that you've described. And I think sometimes it can be really hard to find the tools to know how to get out of that. And they're also really deep-seated belief systems. So to actually like break those habits and break that thought process and that core belief, like that takes a lot of like commitment and a lot of effort, which is why I think your app, which we'll get into later, is so amazing, because I feel like it brings everything together in one.
I'm a product of what I preach. Let me tell you that much. I literally am a poster child for it. It's changed my life. Visualization has changed my life. This work of embodying my future self before achieving those things I want has changed my life. I live in this really interesting reality where it's like I already know that everything I want is on its way. It's already mine. And then I'm also achieving all the things that I've always wanted. So I'm like living in this limbo where it's like, I'm not even shocked anymore when something that I want comes to fruition, because I'm already in that energy for so long before it happens.
It's like how they say that reality or that timeline already exists. You've just got to align yourself with that, I guess it's frequency or energy of where it's happening, and there it's happening. And it's like you can choose your timeline based on where you're putting your thoughts and your energy. I
actually love this. I'm reading, it's a very big book. So I like just kind of skim through it. It's kind of my new Bible. Like I'm obsessed with it. That? No one really knows about it. It is called Reality Transurfing. It's about this big.
Oh my God.
It's translated from Russian.
Oh, wow.
And it's written by this Russian quantum physicist called Vadim Zeland.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
This guy is like, he is like my new Joe Dispenza. I love Joe Dispenza, and I always have loved his work.
Always love Joe. Yes.
Joe is like daddy. Okay. We'll put that out there.
And we saw him reference in your book and everything.
Yes, he is daddy. Okay. But Vadim Zeland is like the new daddy for me, because I just love Joe's work, but I know it so well. And I want to keep learning. And no one really knows about Vadim Zeland. I don't even know. He doesn't even have like social media. Like, who even knows where he is? It's just the most interesting book ever. So he's a quantum physicist. And essentially one of the things he talks about in the book is lifelines, similar to what you were saying. So I now start calling them lifelines, because it's like, you know, they're unlimited, he says, with quantum physics. One of the big theories is that there are unlimited parallel realities happening in any given moment. And they're all different lifelines. So in any moment, you can select a new lifeline. And what I'm interpreting from the book, because it is a complicated book, like it's, I'm
sure
it's not, it sounds like it. Yeah. It's one of those. But what I'm interpreting is that to get into the lifeline, to shift into the lifeline, to leap into the lifeline that you desire, you have to align your energy with it. And it's just really given me a new way of thinking about how the world works. And the more attention and energy you put onto something, the more it expands, and the less, the more it, goes down and doesn't actually become a big part of your life. And it's a really interesting book. And it's just made me realize, like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. And when I do an activation, I feel like I shift lifelines. That's actually the best way I can describe it. Because obviously, I get and I know you've listened to a bunch of them, my team before coming in, they're like, oh, she's listened to so many.
Oh, really? Yeah, I love them. I was going to talk about some of my favorites, but yeah, we'll get there.
Oh, you're so sweet. But I really feel, and tell me if you agree, like our music, we use the best composers that create scores for like movies and TV shows.
It's very well produced. You've done a fantastic job. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah. I'm so proud of it because we're really one of those companies that like focuses on the product first and then like marketing last. Like we've just recently started looking into paid marketing the past year. We grew up like fully from word of mouth up to this point.
Wow.
And it's actually quite incredible. So we've been focusing on product first. A lot of companies will
even
just
the user development, I'm trying to
the
say
UI,
UI, UX. User interaction,
interface. Yeah,
one of them. Don't get me on the tech terms, but it's so well done, and because often apps aren't, especially newer apps.
Yeah.
So it's very well designed. I designed it at once, hence why I'm like very appreciative of
really
a well designed app.
I'm always so judgmental of it. I'm like, oh, I should improve it, but you're the second person today that liked the UI UX. So thank you.
Very easy to use and very well done. But sorry, I cut you off.
No, it's okay. It's just I'm very obsessive with the activations because this is like changing people's lives. So I work with my audio engineers, with my composers. Like I want to find the best perfect combination of words and music and guidance to make people feel like they are living in their own movie. They are the main character, and the main character is undergoing an epic transformation. This is really important. I need all the music to make you feel like you're about to like unlock this incredible transformation, that you are in the process, that it's inevitable, that success is on its way. I actually saw one of my composers yesterday because he's making a custom composition for me while I walk down the aisle for my wedding. And he's going to fly. I'm going to fly him to London to, when I get married.
Unreal.
So I actually have goosebumps and I like listen to it. He's just so incredible. And he does the best scores for, I told him he's like the next Hans Zimmer. Like he is.
Oh my, it's amazing.
He is so talented. So we use so much of his music in the app. And, so he tells me that when he's doing a new score for like a movie or a TV show, the directors or producers will tell him how they want the audience to feel. And then he creates it. So the same thing happens with activations. It's like all these composers or the music we use, it's all instructed to make you feel like you are transforming into your future self. And you cannot find any audio like this anywhere else. It's not meditation. You listen to it in everyday moments while you're walking, while you're cooking, while you're cleaning. You can even listen with your eyes closed if you want more of that type of experience, but it's not really designed for that. It's designed for everyday moments. And that in itself makes it so powerful with transformation, because when you are conditioning your mind and taking advantage of classical conditioning, we've all heard of Pavlov's dog theory. Pavlov rings the bell, the dog salivates. When you are using that to your advantage and becoming your future self, embodying the energy of your future self, feeling abundant and confident and unlimited in these everyday moments, oh my gosh, that is a recipe for transformation. You don't even need the walking activation in the morning anymore if you've done it long enough to feel like you're going to have the best day of your life. You just naturally feel that way.
Yeah, it becomes almost habitual.
Exactly.
And it's amazing how you've set it up like that as well. Like, there's even ones for like while you're doing your makeup, like pop this one on the background. And it's so like user friendly. And I just found that I completely agree. Like when you do them, it is uplifting. And I guess that's what you say, like how it's different to a meditation app. And I like how I've heard you speak about before that when you were doing meditations, like you found it kind of, I don't want to put words in your own mouth, but it was something that wasn't about bringing energy. It was about calming. And this is kind of the reverse.
So meditation's great if you want to calm down. If you want to calm your nervous system, de-stress, God knows I probably need meditation.
I mean, we all need a bit of meditation.
Yeah. But when I first started my journey, like I wasn't looking for something to do that. I was looking for an audio that would help me transform into my future self.
Yeah.
Like I needed something invigorating. I needed something to give me this energy, this like really motivational, inspiring pull towards the life I wanted to live. I was trying to meditate and I got like itchy feeling inside of me being like, oh, I want to go move. I want to go do something big. I wanted the feeling that I would get, you know, that moment you get when you're like listening to your favorite song and the bridge. I love like a bridge of a song. I'm such a, like, I romanticize everything. And like that moment, you know, when you're looking out the car window and you're just like feeling life and feeling alive. Like I wanted to bottle that up and create an app with audios that make you feel that way in any moment of the day. And I think that's what I've been able to achieve. But yeah, meditation's great if you want to de-stress, but call it what it is. It is something to calm your nervous system. Activations invigorate you. They transform you. They make you feel like your future self, and they really help you get to that life. And that is true manifestation because you're literally embodying the energy of your future while you are out and living.
Yeah, I definitely want to get into that a little bit more. But some of the ones that I've been loving is, I mean, even just for like day-to-days when you find yourself like in a bit of a funk or like not feeling your best. And like there's some really great ones on there to like reset your energy. And they only go for like a few minutes. Like if you want the shorter one and you can just get a complete energy reset, which I find amazing and so like helpful on those days where you might not be feeling your best. Then other ones that I love and I've seen have gone viral are the money manifestation ones. And I feel like they are so powerful. And you're so right. Like also another thing is your voice. I'm very particular about my voice that I listen to, if it's a meditation or if it's an activation app, not that there is any others. But your voice is really quite perfect for it. And that's hard to find because not everyone does have the right voice.
Thank you.
But what have you found so like some of the best responses and even some of your favorites?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, I hear transformation stories every day. Like it's actually insane. Our users are just literally the best. I can't even tell you. I love our users. I will get messages from people taking screenshots a lot of the time since we launched the targeted visualization category with a lot of like money specific visualizations. Like, you know, we have everything from manifest $5,000 to manifest like $100 million and every tier in between, because obviously we want to match what people actually want, you know, yearly income, salary, manifestation. So the money ones are so fun to get, you know, user feedback from, because so much of the time I'll get like a screenshot from someone being like, I literally listened to the manifest $10,000 one like on repeat the past month, and look at the check I just got in the mail, or like look at this bonus I just got from work. And it's like always like that amount on the dot, which is just crazy. I don't even know how it works. And I always tell people, I'm like, you know, I know how to change I know how people can change their life, but I don't actually deeply know what it is that's creating this experience. And I have one foot into the spiritual, you know, quantum physics, more theory. And then I have a huge foot into or a big foot. I have like a very strong foot in the more science and psychology realm. And if you know, in my book, it's very rooted in science. It's not a very floaty woo-woo. Like I don't teach that. Like I definitely align with a lot of it, but I want facts. So,
but that's so good because most people do. And I find a lot of people can be quite skeptical about this kind of work because they're like, well,
exactly. But what I believe is whatever you believe to be true is true. Whether it is, you know, atheists calling it the placebo effect, whether it is Christians calling it prayer, whether you call it spiritualists calling it, you know, the law of attraction, scientists calling it quantum physics, whatever you want to call it, it actually is true. You know what I mean? And if you believe that this work works, you're more likely to see it work. So why not believe something that's going to serve you and help you take control of your life? So
true. Yeah, that's a really it's a really good point. And I think because I'm very big on everyone needs to find what works for them. So same with like religion and choosing like what works for them. But I think with this, and exactly going off what you're saying, is that it kind of works for everyone because it's not rooted just in like spirituality and it's not rooted just in science. It's kind of like hybriding everything together. So it works for that person who's more tangible, practical, like a doer, or for the opposite, That's what I would kind of say.
No, exactly. It's spot on.
Yeah.
And I'm always open to new information. I love learning and research. Like this book that I'm telling you about, like it's so beyond anything I've ever read. And, you know, I'm always learning. I like to learn.
Me too.
And I'm just seeing proof in any modality that this, you know, works.
It's time to take a moment for today's sponsor. If you're someone who's working on becoming your future self, this is something you'll definitely love. I came across a platform called Pretty Privilege, and it's completely aligned with everything we talk about here, creating abundance, attracting ease, and stepping into a more elevated lifestyle. It's a free members club that gives everyday women access to the kinds of perks that used to be reserved for just influencers. No gatekeeping, no discrimination, and no social media following required. You'll get automatic entry into monthly giveaways for 5-star hotel stays and vintage designer bags, exclusive offers on beauty, fashion, wellness, travel, and hospitality brands, and of course, VIP invites to curated events across Australia. They've really redefined the meaning of pretty privilege, turning it into real, tangible access to the lifestyle that you've been manifesting. It's also a way to connect with the brands you love and a community of young women who live with intention, elevated energy, and an appreciation for the little luxuries. It takes less than 30 seconds to join at prettyprivilege.club. And if you're building a life that feels abundant and beautifully yours, then this is your sign. That's prettyprivilege.club. We'll see you there. So coming from a businesswoman's perspective, how much of this do you think is the manifestation part and the activations, and how much of it is the hard work and doing the work? Because these things don't come easily.
Oh my gosh, this is such a good question. Like really, really good question that I could I could respond to it for an entire episode. It's a bit of both because they're not separate. So I created the life of my dreams by becoming the type of person that has that life. So by becoming the type of person that has this life, I naturally do the things, act in a certain way, present myself in a certain way, embody a certain energy that allows me to live this life. I'm still doing the things, but it just becomes effortless because I've become the person first. So think about your self-image. This is the most important thing, your self-image and your identity and how you see yourself, your personality. Think about it like it's like the core of an onion, okay? Everything, all the layers outside of it are different things like habits, beliefs, thoughts, daily routine, whatever it is. If you just try to just change your habits, you're not going to, the success rate is quite low because you're going to fall off track. You're not going to feel disciplined one day. You're going to whatever. But if you go to the core first and you change your self-image first and you become the new person, the new identity, the new self-image first, then it's going to be easy to do those things. So it's kind of like hacking the system. You can transform by doing it the hard way, and just focusing on habits and pushing yourself, or you can transform by becoming your future self first. And then naturally, you just start adopting those habits, beliefs, and taking on those things that version of you takes on. So it is a bit of a mixed kind of response because I believe that manifestation and energy like attracts like also has a huge part of this equation, but obviously the work matters. Why don't you hack the system to make the work easier is what I'm saying.
It's so powerful. And I think the other important thing to note is that I like how Gabby Bernstein talks about this a lot is manic manifestation. So I think there comes a point where you can like get so obsessive about wanting these end goals to happen that it's like you become in this like manic frequency and it becomes like a need. But with what you're talking about is when these things are like daily habit changes in your life and you're slowly influenced about finding your future self, it ends up like naturally happening. It's about like putting it out there and not like pushing against it or like needing or wanting or being in that kind of energy.
I'll tell you why. It's becoming. It's being. So one of the things that I would remind myself throughout my journey before I achieved this life, and I still remind myself because listen, I'm not just like for always living in this great future self frequency. Like, I obviously still fall off track.
We're all
perfection.
human.
We're human. Like perfection doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So one of the taglines that I would tell myself throughout this journey, and I'd put it on Post-it notes on my water bottle or on the back of my phone case or put it as reminders on my calendar. It is be her now. Be her now. I would remind myself relentlessly, be her now. And that's what activations help you with. They help you be her now. They help you be your future self now. That's what, you know, you doing, that's the purpose of you like journaling or something, is to remind you of who you want to be. So be her now. And yes, you're right. Lack comes from feeling separate to something. When you're already being her, you already have it all.
It's like that Jim Carrey story. Have you heard that?
Oh yeah.
Where he like
the
wrote,
OG.
where he like wrote the check.
I'm pretty sure I wrote this in my book too.
Oh,
somewhere.
did you?
Yeah, it's everyone knows. Like,
it's so good. Yeah, we like
good.
wrote the check for like $10 million and put it to like a few years in the future or something.
Exactly.
And then when Dumber and Dumber came along, it was like almost the exact date to where he had dated the check.
Yeah.
That the $10 million
He's definitely
came
into
through.
this type of stuff.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It was similar during COVID. And I'm also very big on like, you have to be very like aligned and committed to the work, because I found myself at times like doing parts of it, but maybe if I'm not fully like embodying it or believing it, like it's not going to work or have the same cut through. And there was a time during COVID where I was committing myself a lot to doing this kind of work, and I don't know, kind of trying to align myself with a better version of myself. And one day I did this like manifestation journal entry exercise, and it was about visualizing where I was at some point in the future, but getting really specific about that moment. So like what I smelt, what I felt, what I saw, literally every little detail. And so I wrote this very vivid journal entry about my future home and my kids and my partner. At this point I had like none of that. And I put the journal entry away, and I carried on with doing all the work at that time. And a few years ago, I reopened, what would have been a year ago, opened up that journal, and I found the entry, and I have literally created that exact entry that I wrote about probably only 4 or 5 years prior.
That's incredible. You should frame that.
I know.
You need to do something.
I read
with
it
that.
to my partner, and even he, who's like doesn't always think about this stuff a lot, he's not a skeptic. He's open to it, but I read it to him, and even he had goosebumps. He was like, "This is insane." To the point where I'd written about my dream home, and I said I was sitting at my kitchen bench, and I could hear running water in the background. And we have, just by chance, now a reverse infinity pool that like trickles, so we can hear from our kitchen and our bedroom. And we both read it, and we're like, what? So this is when I'm like, this
You're
stuff
a
works.
manifester.
When we are aligned and when we are committed, like this stuff works. We are the creator of our reality, exactly as you say.
It's incredible. That is so cool.
It's why I get so
you.
excited and passionate about this topic, and why obviously you do as well, turning it into your career. What was the turning point for you where you were like, I need to make this a business and share this with the world?
It kind of just happened really naturally. I've always been very entrepreneurial, and about 4-5 years ago, I started, I had a bit of an audience online, and I wanted to create like a subscription. So I had like gotten this like website, a company that allows you to create subscriptions on a website, and it costs like $200 a month. It was nothing. So I created a subscription on a website, and I've always been very into like health and wellness. So I added like workout videos, recipes. And then I thought, okay, just to add some extra value, I'm going to add these like activations to the bottom, kind of like hiding them a little bit. And they ended up being the most popular category on the platform. And it quickly started kicking off. So then I just, saw that response, and then took it and created more, professional activations. Because at the time I was still like doing it in GarageBand myself. I've always been
a true
very
entrepreneur.
scrappy.
I love it.
Honestly, I've always started everything before I've been ready. And I think that's one of the tricks to like the success.
Kind of have to, hey, yeah.
No, like I was shameless. People like, I remember girls from high school to make fun of me. I'm like, I just was shameless. I was just, I want this life. I don't care what anyone thinks about me.
I love it.
And then I just started kicking off, and I just honed in on that, created an app, and
Wow. And here you are today.
And here I am.
So tell us about your book. When's that coming out?
April 29th. And when is this podcast coming out?
This will be in April sometime.
Okay,
so
that.
we'll definitely put the purchase link in the show notes.
And if it's not April 29th yet, you can pre-order it, and it can deliver the next day once it's out on Amazon. Just go search Activate Your Future Self, and it is there. It's my first book.
Oh my God, congratulations. I'm so excited for you and for everyone. Can you walk us through a bit about the book and like what people can expect in it?
Yes, for sure. So it has 3 parts.
Yeah.
The first part is the first step to my 2 steps to transformation. I have 2 steps to transformation. The first step is clarity. You must first become crystal clear on your future self, their frequency, how it feels to be them, your future self frequency, I call it. And the step number 2 is becoming. You must be her now. Like I mentioned before, in everyday moments, be her now. And so, yeah, you know, there's so much into that very simplified explanation, but part 1 is clarity, part 2 is becoming, and part 3 is all about maintaining, because you can get clear on your future self. You can know exactly what it's like to feel like you are embodying her right now, to know exactly like the water trickling in her new house. You can become her in everyday moments. You can know how it feels to be her, but then you have to maintain it. Because it's not going to happen overnight. You need to be able to really get good at maintaining your future self frequency and bouncing back to being your best self after you fall off track. I always talk about how perfection should not be the measure of success. It should be your bounce back rate, because perfection doesn't exist. Why measure perfection? And also people that have perfectionistic tendencies like myself, you know, we're naturally attracted to a clean slate, like a Monday or the first of a month. And that's going to hold everyone back. And it held me back as well when I focused on that more than anything else, because the difference between very, very successful people and people like normal people is that successful people have a quick bounce back rate, and normal people don't usually. They wait for that Monday or the first. Successful people will say, okay, I fell off track this afternoon. I'm getting back into it this evening. Same thing goes with health and wellness. You know, someone who's naturally healthy, they can eat a cookie and no big deal, but they're not going to eat the whole box because they are going to start again tomorrow. It's this obsessive thinking that just doesn't work. So the book, it starts with clarity, the middle is becoming, and then it ends with maintaining. And it is a manual, a handbook to help you become your happiest, healthiest, wealthiest self.
Wow, it sounds amazing. So what would you say to someone listening maybe that's like, I don't really know that I even have my clarity right now. I'm uncertain about my why. I'm uncertain about where I am. What would you say to that person?
So stop complicating it. I think a lot of personal development complicates everything and it just feels overwhelming. But transformation is actually pretty simple. When you really, really just bear it all down, it's simple. You need to have the self-image of your future self, and everything else will fall into place. Like, just, you need to get so good at knowing what it feels like to be her in everyday moments, and everything else will fall into place. The ideas you need to figure out, the things you need to do when you're being her, that naturally comes. So don't complicate it so much. And if you're lacking clarity, also just know that you don't need to be crystal clear on exactly what the laundry room in your future house looks like. Like, the water thing is a great, that's awesome you did that, but I'm sure you would have gotten there even if you didn't know that specific detail. Because when it comes to manifesting, it's actually more just very simply put, about the feeling that your future gives you. So it's a feeling in your heart, in your soul. It's a frequency, and you can create your future self frequency. We have like loads of activations in the app to help you create that specific energy, but you can also, everyone listening, do it here in a very kind of basic way. Think about 3 to 5 feelings or emotions that really make up how you want to feel in your future.
I love this. I love tangible things for listeners. So
yeah, absolutely.
Walk us through it.
And then, so I'll kind of give you an example of mine. For me, my future self frequency is a mix of love, of abundance and wealth, of joy, of, what is it? It is awe. I love awe, the feeling of like an awe for the world, and then health and vitality. Like, I love all of that.
Beautiful awe. I feel like I don't hear people speak about that much and like that. Yeah.
I love the magic of the world. Like, I really like feeling alive. And I think awe brings that, to you. So essentially what you want to do is start with the first emotion, the first layer. Let's say it's love. Feel what it feels like to be in love with life, to love your life, to love yourself, to love people in your life, just love. And once you get that down pat, mix in the next emotion into the equation here. So maybe that's wealth and abundance. Hold on to the baseline of love, but then bring in wealth, abundance, that expansive feeling, and then once you hold on to that, then you bring in the next, and you do this until you feel complete. And then you memorize that energy. You get familiar with it, you memorize it, you become it. Okay. And then you tune into it in everyday moments. That's the equation. That's what you got to do. And whether you're listening to activations, whether you have reminders on your phone or Post-it notes on your water bottle, whether it's just by listening to a certain song, try to trigger it inside of you to remind you to be here now.
I love that, because you're making it so much more attainable. Whereas I think it can seem quite daunting if you're coming from a place where things feel uncertain or heavy. And then having these really simple, like practical daily tools, or even really simple little things like you just described, actually makes it feel achievable. And it's like, I assume going through each step one by one, like finding that love, really connecting, and not needing to rush the process either. Like step by step, just like going through it.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's very simple. And we have writing activations on the app to help you do it. We also
so you had journal ones too.
Yeah.
So I was like, I need to redo this. Right, my next thing, my next house.
Oh my gosh, imagine.
No,
well, like
not doing that again.
No, it's always nice. Like it's nice to, you know, I feel like I'm there right now. Like I'm very satisfied, but I also obviously have so much more ambition still. I think as human beings, we're goal-seeking creatures. Like when those spiritualists say like the only thing you need to do is like be present and that's it. That is the, you know, I don't really agree with that. I want to like, I feel good when I'm moving towards something.
Yeah.
I love the feeling of advancement and ambition. Like it makes me feel good. I think, you know, 80% of the time now I'm very present and happy. But then I also like a bit of ambition still, because it gives you something to work towards. I like doing things. I like achieving things.
And what are your biggest tips for the bounce back rate that you talk about? So for someone that's finding themselves fall in and out of it or in and out of their beliefs, what would be your top recommendations?
Well, the biggest thing, if you are falling off track a lot, is because you have not gotten your identity in check. You have not gotten the self-image in check. So you have to keep focusing on the first two steps, clarity and becoming, if you have a very long response time with your bounce back rate. So when I first started in personal development, it took me years to get a short bounce back rate. I would sometimes fall off track for 3 months. You know, I'd be like journaling, feeling good, doing a morning routine, doing all the good things. And then I'd go out and get drunk or something. It usually was what triggered it back in the day. Do drugs or do something wild like old Mimi. Because I definitely had them. It wasn't like I was a party girl and I was crazy and then I immediately found personal development and transformed, and I was, you know, that version of me. There was like a time where they both kind of laid each other, and you know, I would really try, and then I'd go out, and then I'd, you know, feel like crap the next day, and then I literally would take me 2 months to get back on. That was the beginning. It took years, and then when I really started doing what I knew worked and listening to activations and being in everyday moments, that version of me I wanted to be, the trajectory of my transformation, it was like a bell curve, you know, like on a graph. Like it was just like whoop, like I just started transforming real fast.
I almost think that's the way it kind of has to be. Like we're going through such like a deep transformation. I was very similar. I used to go out a lot and drink, and then the more I found that I connected to this kind of work and to myself, it's like that stuff no longer served me anymore. And I'd always like had this vision about maybe am I going to be someone who like doesn't drink alcohol, and I was like, oh, I could never, like how could I ever? And like the further along I've gone on my journey, like now I don't particularly really even enjoy alcohol. Like it doesn't like sit well with my body, and it's like, again, as we said at the start, it's almost like that real connection to my true self and my authenticity just naturally comes out when you start doing this work.
Absolutely.
So I think it's a very common story.
Yeah. Gosh, I like tried to have a glass of wine with my friend the other night and I felt like absolute crap. I don't know what it is entering my late 20s. When I was like 19, I'd love a glass of wine, you know?
Yeah.
But it doesn't even do what it's supposed to do for me anymore.
Yeah.
So I don't
No,
drink
and then
a
you're
lot.
just left with the hangover and you're like, why?
One glass of wine, like massive hangover, can't sleep. Like
Yeah.
what?
I feel like it's almost shifting too. I feel like it's not quite as prevalent as it used to be. Like drinking alcohol, and it's not quite as like popular as it used to be.
Anymore.
And then all this work is like the cool
I
work.
love this world we're living in.
Yeah. So what's your like daily routine like look like? Obviously filled with an activation or two.
You're going to think it's so funny. I'm actually not a very routined person.
Really?
That does
surprise
myself.
me.
Yeah. I would fight myself a lot in the beginning, and I would be like, I have to do this perfect morning routine where I do the exact same thing every day. I just naturally am more of a flowy person. And like I wake up, I'm like, I have no idea what I'm going to eat today. Or like, I have no idea like how I'm going to dress today. Whereas my fiance, Ben, he's like, he eats the exact same thing every day for breakfast and lunch. And then like his wild card is when I cook dinner. Cause I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to cook. So I'm just naturally more flowy, and I've really allowed myself to be more of that. I would, I thought it was quite a bad thing. Even just a few years ago, I hated that I was naturally like that. And I allowed myself to just kind of be more that way, knowing that the most important thing is having the self-image of my future self. Because now, no matter what I do in my day, it will be aligned with my future self. Whether I wake up and I want to journal and do a really great writing activation and like connect with myself in that way, that's awesome. But the same thing goes with, if I wake up and I, want to just listen to jazz music while I'm getting ready and not do any writing and not do anything, so it's really just whatever aligns me with my self-image. That's what I do. But I will say activations do generally take part of my daily routine just because I listen to things all day long. Like I like to listen to podcasts or audiobooks or music. And just like how I would listen to music maybe at the gym, and maybe I'd listen to a podcast when I'm more in like a learning mood. I will listen to an activation when I'm feeling like maybe I'm a bit in a rush. I need to habit stack and I want to feel good. I'm not really feeling good about myself. And I need to maybe listen to something inspiring and I want to get that feeling of being amped up a little bit. Then I'll listen to an activation. Or if I'm walking, I love listening to activations while I'm walking. When I'm home in the Bahamas, I walk my dog every day for like a nice hour-long walk, and we go through the golf course, and I love listening to activations on those walks.
I love so much that you said that you like allowed yourself permission for that, because I feel like we do live in a very like routine orientated world, and it's like, what's your daily routine and what do you do? And everything's like to a time and to a schedule. Yeah. And it seems like you've really like tapped into what your intuition is like asking from you in that moment. And I find that so empowering, because I always look at my days as needing a routine, but I think I'm similar to you, that I actually like going off intuition and how I'm feeling in that morning. What do I need? Do I need to like go for a run and like let it all out? Do I need to like go inwards and be still? I've not really heard giving ourselves permission in this crazy day-to-day. Yeah, right?
It's rebellious in the personal growth space. And I wasn't always like this. This is a recent development, by the way. I had like a morning routine course like 4 years ago, like I was like obsessed with routine, or I wanted to be, but it just was hard. And I don't actually think it has to be hard to be your future self. That's the other thing. I think it can be done in quite an intuitive, effortless way. And with the work that I teach, it helps you achieve that. I also think doing things unconventionally with every area of my life. Like I've done a lot of unconventional things with my business. Like I've never raised money. I, deal with things very differently in the business. We have quite a different business structure. I'm very intuitive with, I don't do things just because everyone else does it in a certain way. So I'm looking at that through that lens in every aspect of my life, just kind of unconventional, not looking at the rules, but looking at just what I think works the best.
I love that so much. Yeah. Wow, you're really being very scandalous there.
I know.
Breaking some societal norms.
Yeah,
go girl.
Seriously, wow.
When I saw you the other day in Erewhon, you said that you took a year off social media.
I took like 8 months off, yeah.
What was that like for you?
I really loved it. Yeah. And I want to keep doing it, but my book publishers are like, all right, time to get back. I'm like, shit.
Did you have any like inner conflict around it because so much of your work is linked to socials?
That was like one random, very small limiting belief before I deleted socials for that 8-month period. I was like, wait, but like I have an Instagram following. Like, will my business be affected? And then I was like, Mimi, everyone who follows me, like if they're going to be subscribed to activations, they've already subscribed at this point. Like I don't want to like grow a big, Instagram. Like I don't want to be an influencer. It's just not what I want to do. And that's, everyone listening, like, if you want to, that's great. If that's what you want to do. But for me, it doesn't really align with how I want to live anymore. And I actually thought to myself, I don't think it's going to affect my business at all, actually, because it's not like I'm gaining new people for the business all the time. We're growing in other ways, and it doesn't necessarily depend on my Instagram. So since I deleted it, we've doubled the business.
Wow, it's amazing.
Yeah. So it obviously had no effect.
What was the mental side like for you being disconnected from socials?
I had withdrawals the first 3 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah. I realized, and it's not like I was sitting on Instagram all day. I'm a busy person. I was writing my book at the time. I was traveling a lot. Like I'm busy. I don't have time to doom scroll all day. But I will say, in between meetings or when I had a minute, if I just wanted to decompress, I would go to it to numb and just mindlessly scroll. Even if it was just for 5 minutes, it really affected me. It made me feel less focused the rest of the day. And I started noticing that like I just didn't feel good in my body. And I have this whole theory where like the more numb you feel, the more numbing activities you do, the less alive you feel. So think about things that make you feel numb. Overeating, drinking, drugs, mindless scrolling, watching way too much technology or TV, being so immersed in technology. Technology numbs us, okay? On the opposite side of the spectrum, what makes us feel alive? Present, beautiful conversations with friends, people you love, you know, like being in nature, listening to your favorite song, listening to an activation, like working out, being, you know, present and just like so connected to life. And I felt like I was numbing more than I was aliving. And I just realized, especially because I had this big realization that this was in, I think, April or May, I decided to delete it last year. I'm getting married in July this year. So I had like just over a year before getting married, and I was writing my book, and I was really living like, and I still do live quite a go, go, go lifestyle. And I realized last year, like, I want to be present. I want to be so present and so connected and not like distracted for this next phase of my life, because once I get married, like we're probably going to start having kids and we're going to, you know, kind of enter that era. And this is my last year just being Mimi Bouchard, not Mimi Darby.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I really just wanted to, and it worked. I very much so connected to myself, but I also realized that like I kind of just stopped caring about certain things after deleting it. You know, I got back on Instagram and I just really just didn't, I don't know, I just didn't connect to it as much anymore. Even now, like I have it now on my phone, I'm posting a little bit, but I don't connect with it as much anymore. I just feel like it's not real life. And I'm sure you can, you know, resonate. We're in LA right now. Like there's a lot of not real life happening at all times, and just didn't feel good.
I think it's so incredible that you did that, because I think so many of us are so attached to it in ways that we don't even realize. And for me, I think it's been since having my daughter that I've had so many moments where I'm like, I think I just want to like switch off socials for a period, and I just, exactly as you said, like be so present at where I am right now and just really enjoy this time in a way that I've not really allowed myself to ever. Like my work is so intertwined with socials. I've never taken a holiday where I haven't been somewhat working. And I've found such this like internal battle around, I don't know if I can do it. Like, is this going to affect my work? And I think it's so powerful, your message of like doing it, and that life was so great on the other side as well. And that also nothing was effective.
Can't wait.
I think it's so important. I think so many of us should be doing that and should be having these social media detox periods. And like, imagine if we were doing that, replacing that, with activation.
Oh my gosh.
Activations. Like,
or just any personal development. Like listening to audiobooks or like anything to work on yourself. It'd be insane. But you know what? I was an extremist, and I was like, okay, I'm going fully off. But you know what we can all do as well? We can just delete the apps off our phone from Friday to Monday.
Yeah.
And then we can have it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or, you know, whatever it is, just create boundaries with it.
Yeah.
It's really hard not to doom scroll. Like I had withdrawals. I'm telling you, 3 weeks in, I was like going to the place on my phone where Instagram was. I'm like, what the heck? I had this weird feeling of just like, I don't have an addictive personality, but this was the first time I was thinking, wow, I kind of feel like I was addicted.
It's amazing, isn't it? It's just,
it's crazy.
It takes over in ways I don't think we really realize. So going back to the app and the book, I'm going to put all the details in the show notes below. Do you have like a lasting like transformation story you'd love to share from like someone that's been using your app that's like really stood out to you?
Oh my goodness. There are so many, and there are a bunch in the book. But I will say I just was on my DMs yesterday, and like I was seeing so many incredible transformation stories. So top of mind, there was this one girl that messaged and said that like she started listening to activations when she quit her corporate job, and she really wanted to make her like jewelry business a big thing. And since listening to activations, it's just like transformed everything for her. And it changed her life, you know, because she had the confidence. Like obviously it's her doing all the work, but the activations helped her understand what the self-image was of her future self and how she could embody that energy in everyday moments. And the more she did that, the more success she saw. And then I had another message from another user of the app talking about weight loss and health. You know, she wanted to lose weight naturally, and she really, you know, like wasn't feeling good in her body postpartum. And she just started listening to, like, we have like activations for every goal on the app. So we have an activation called Let Yourself Lose Weight. And it's like a 3-minute one. And it like has this insane music, and it really gets you in the energy of like allowing yourself, letting yourself drop that extra weight. So she said that it was like the number one game changer for her postpartum, listening to that constantly. And it's like she looks back and she's like, holy crap, I look completely different. And she kept listening to it once a day or like 3 times a week even. And it just really affected her. So a lot of tangible transformation stories. And then we also just hear so many people say, generally, the app has just like really transformed their, you know, state of being every day. It doesn't necessarily mean that they got a $5,000 check in the mail or they lost 10 pounds, but just like generally they feel more alive and happier. And that's hard to measure, but it changes everything when that's, you know, your reality.
It's so amazing, Mimi. Like, you're literally transforming people's lives. It's amazing work that you're doing. And I'm so excited for everyone listening who hasn't tried the app yet to try it. I do like to end my episodes with a little Tess Talks diary entry. So this is just like one lasting quote or comment or piece of advice or wisdom you'd like to leave behind. So I know you've already given us a lot, but what's one lasting thought you might want to share with the listeners?
You are perfectly positioned in this very moment to create the life of your dreams. You're exactly where you need to be to create that life right here, right now, whatever you're doing listening to this. You are perfectly positioned to create that life of your dreams. Believe that, drill that into your soul, and go live the rest of your day believing that, because it's the truth. That's all I'll say.
Love it. Thank you so much, Mimi.
Thank you, Tess, for having me.
Thanks so much for listening. If you loved the episode, please subscribe, rate, and review. It honestly means so much and helps to keep these conversations going. And I'd love to connect with you. You can message me on Instagram or TikTok, and I've left all the details from the episode in the show notes below. I'll see you next week.